If I were moving to Maryland in 2026, these are the 5 places I'd seriously consider. I mean, people ask me all the time, John, you've lived in Maryland your entire life. If I were moving to Maryland today, where would you actually live? And that question sounds simple until you try to answer it without, lying to people. Maryland can be confusing because every part of the state feels like it's playing a different game. And the one area that gives you water views and small town charm, and another gives you convenience, traffic, restaurants, medical offices, and 3 shopping centers that all somehow have the same 5 stores. Drive a little further and you are looking at larger lots, quieter roads, older homes, newer neighborhoods, historic streets, or a commute that may test your relationship with humanity. And after more than 20 years in real estate, I don't think the best place to live in Maryland is the right question to ask. The better question is, which part actually fits the life you are trying to build? I mean, a town can look great online and on paper and still be the wrong place for your routine. A house can check literally every box and sit in an area that makes your day-to-day life harder than it actually needs to be. Plenty of buyers fall in love with a community during a weekend visit, then discover that the weekday version feels completely different. So today, I'm giving you my personal list. Now, this is not an official ranking of Maryland towns. I mean, please do not print this out and bring it to the city council meeting. All right, so these are the 5 places I would seriously consider if I were moving to Maryland in 2026, based on what I know about the market, the communities, and the commutes, the housing, and how people actually live after the moving truck leaves and the dust settles. Some choices are practical, and a few have real charm. One is absolutely going to make somebody tell me I forgot their favorite town. Sorry about that. That's fine. Maryland has a lot of good options, and I'll get to those. But these are simply the places that I would start to look into. So let's get into number 5, Havre de Grace. Havre de Grace makes the list because it has real identity. A lot of towns look nice on photos, but Havre de Grace feels different when you are actually there. I mean, you're sitting where the Susquehanna meets the Chesapeake Bay. The town has water views, marinas, has parks, restaurants, local shops, and a downtown that gives you a reason to slow down. And they filmed several movies there. You can actually walk around and grab a meal. There's First Fridays. Look at the water. Understand it pretty quickly that why people get attached to this place. And that matters more than buyers realize at first, because when someone is relocating to Maryland, and search usually starts with bedrooms, bathrooms, taxes, commute time, and whatever the kitchen looks like belongs in this decade. And all of that deserves attention. It really does. And the problem is that the home search can become so mechanical that people forget they are choosing a life, not just a floor plan. So Havre de Grace gives you a lifestyle that feels more relaxed than many of the busier suburbs. There is a slower pace here, but it does not feel empty or disconnected. For buyers who like boating and fishing and local restaurants and waterfront views, small businesses, historic town energy, this place can make a lot of sense. The catch is the location. And that beautiful Saturday afternoon feeling needs to survive Monday morning commutes. Someone who works nearby may see Havre de Grace as a great fit. A buyer commuting towards Baltimore, D.C., or to another job center needs to be much more careful. I mean, Maryland has a special talent for looking manageable on a map and then reminding you that bridges, tunnels, highways, and other drivers exist. So I would look at Havre de Grace seriously, but I would not look at it casually. So spend time there during the week. Test the drive. Pay attention to where you would actually like to shop, eat, work, and run errands. A town can be charming and still be your wrong schedule. For the right buyer, though, Havre de Grace has a lot going on for it. You get character without feeling like you are moving into a museum. The water gives you the town a very distinct feel, and the local businesses helped it avoid that cookie cutter suburban sameness. There is also enough nearby access to make it livable for the person who wants that quieter pace without being, stranded. This would not be my first recommendation for someone who wants maximum convenience or the shortest possible commute into the central part of the state. I wouldn't recommend it. A buyer looking for charm and water and a calmer Maryland lifestyle should absolutely have it on their list. Havre de Grace is one of those places people visit, enjoy, and then keep thinking about longer than expected. You know, they keep thinking about it. That usually means something. Number 4, White Marsh and Perry Hall, Maryland. White Marsh and Perry Hall earn a spot for a completely different reason than Havre de Grace. These areas are useful. They really are. They may not sound glamorous, but usefulness becomes a very attractive once you're living. Part of Baltimore County gives you access to shopping, restaurants, grocery stores, major schools, major roads, and a lot of everyday services. And you are close to I-95 and 695 near Baltimore, and still positioned for, well, parts of Harford County. For people relocating into Maryland, that kind of access can remove a lot of friction. You're not trying to figure out everything from scratch. You know what I'm saying? So daily life is easier to organize because so much is nearby. Now, White Marsh and Perry Hall are not going to give you that same kind of waterfront charm as, say, Havre de Grace, or even the historical feel of, like, Annapolis. I mean, nobody is wandering around shopping. This is not the point. The point is convenience. A lot of buyers say they want quiet, but their actual life requires quick access to, like, work, stores, restaurants, medical appointments, activities, and highways. When those needs are real, a practical location can be a prettier one. The trade-off is obvious. I mean, busier areas come with more traffic, more development, more people, and more commercial activity. If you want 5 grocery stores or options nearby, you'll have to accept that other people will also be there. That's how civilization works, unfortunately. For the right buyer, White Marsh and Perry Hall offer strong suburban setup. I mean, you can find townhomes, single-family homes, established neighborhoods, and different price points depending upon your timing and inventory. I mean, someone who works around Baltimore may appreciate the access. A household with a busy schedule may care more about, convenience than a postcard view. I mean, this area can also work well for buyers who are moving from out of state and want to get settled without feeling like they've landed somewhere too isolated. I mean, the learning curve is easier here. You get your bearings, you explore a little bit, get to some nearby communities, and still have the basics of daily life close by. Would I choose this area if I wanted to land? Privacy and a slower pace? Probably not. A buyer who wants more charm, more space, or a quieter setting may prefer other parts of Maryland. That does not make White Marsh or Perry Hall a bad choice. It just means the value proposition is a bit different, that's all. Some places win because they're beautiful. Others win because they make your life easier. White Marsh and Perry Hall belong in that second category, and for a lot of people, easier is exactly what they want. Okay, so number 3 is Bel Air. Bel Air is probably the least surprising name on my list. I spend a lot of time in and around Bel Air and this area. So yes, I might be a little biased here. The difference is that my bias comes from watching people consistently respond well to what Bel Air offers. There is a real downtown. I mean, there's restaurants, shops, parks, events, medical access, and community activities are all a part of the appeal. I mean, you feel connected without feeling swallowed by a larger city. That balance is really hard to find for people to find. It's harder than you think. Some communities feel, too quiet, and after the first few months, other places offer plenty that do, but the pace can feel exhausting. Bel Air sort of sits in the middle lane that works well for many Harford County buyers. For someone relocating to Maryland, Bel Air can be easier to understand than a loose collection of neighborhoods spread across a county map. There is a center. You can spend considerable time downtown. You can look at nearby housing options and compare the surrounding areas and start to understand how Harford County fits together. That clarity helps buyers. It really does. For the first time, a buyer may be looking for access and affordability. A buyer might want more space while staying close to services. A downsizer may care about restaurants and healthcare, errands and community without wanting to maintain property that feels like a second job. Bel Air gives a different types of buyers something to evaluate. Does that mean every buyer belongs there? Nope. Demand has affected prices. Good homes can move quickly, and some people assume Harford County automatically means easier affordability, and Bel Air reminds them that reputation has a price tag. The smarter move is to compare the different versions of Bel Air. Living closer to downtown creates one kind of experience. Moving further out gives you more space and a different pace. Nearby communities may offer similar access with different trade-offs, of course. This is where buyers need guidance because the town name alone does not answer enough. Two homes can both say Bel Air in the same listing and feel completely different once you understand the roads, the routines, and the commutes, and the surrounding area. For me, Bel Air makes the list because it offers a strong Harford County anchor. There is enough activity to keep daily life interesting and enough convenience to make errands manageable. And that's and enough community to identify and feel like you are choosing an actual place. Someone who wants pure quiet may look elsewhere. So a buyer who wants maximum walkability may need to be selective. Anyone trying to understand Harford County seriously should at least consider Bel Air and compare it to the other areas against it. This is why it stays on my short list. So number 2, Annapolis. Annapolis is easy to love. Affording the version of Annapolis people usually imagine can be a different conversation. Every time I go there, part of me thinks, I could live there. And then I look at certain home prices and suddenly become very mature and appreciative of just visiting. Still, Annapolis deserves a serious place on my list because it offers one of the most distinct lifestyles in Maryland. Historical streets, waterfront energy, restaurants, boating, culture, walkability, shops, state capital, history, and all that come together in a way that very few places can match. It doesn't feel like any other suburb with a nicer sign at the entrance. Annapolis has its own identity. People are not usually drawn there just because they need a house. They are drawn to the feeling. Weekend walks, downtown, dinner near the water, visitors coming into town, old streets, boats, history, and that sense that you live somewhere where people actually want to spend time. That can be a very powerful thing. And the challenge is the lifestyle often comes with trade-offs. Older homes may require more maintenance. Parking can matter more than expected. Water proximity changes pricing. Walkability means giving up square footage. And certain neighborhoods may stretch the budget faster than buyers anticipate. And none of that is a reason to avoid Annapolis. It's a reason to approach it with clear eyes. A buyer who falls in love with the dream too quickly can miss the practical details. The home still needs to be inspected. The monthly payment still has to be made and made sense. The commute still exists. Charm does not pay for a new roof. Annapolis also requires a serious conversation about work location. Some people can make the geography work beautifully. Others may find the drive less romantic after the 5th time they are stuck in traffic, wondering why everyone else also needed to be somewhere. Before choosing Annapolis, I would want to know how often your commute is, what kind of home you expect for your budget, and how much maintenance you are comfortable with, and whether or not the lifestyle is worth the cost. For the right buyer, the answer may be yes. This is one of the Maryland's strongest lifestyle markets for a reason. The history, the water, the restaurants, the walkability create a setting that feels special. It really does. The budget were not a major factor. Annapolis would be near the top of people in my list. But since the budget usually is a factor, it belongs on a list with an asterisk the size of a boat slip, maybe Marsh. Worth considering? Absolutely. Worth buying into without understanding the numbers? I'd say no. And that's how people end up house poor with a lovely view and a very nervous checking account and ramen noodles for dinner. All right, number 1, Fallston. Fallston is my number 1 choice. It's where I live. Anyone who knows me probably saw that coming. The reason comes down to space without isolation. That combination is becoming harder to find in Maryland. Fallston gives buyers a more rural or semi-rural feel with while keeping them close enough to shopping, restaurants, healthcare, major roads. You can find larger lots, attractive homes, quieter settings, and a pace that feels calmer than many of the busier suburbs. At this stage of my life and life, that matters to me. I like people. I have spent my career talking to people, helping people, and calming people down, negotiating with people, and occasionally explaining to people that no, the seller is not throwing in the riding lawnmower. And even with all that, I do not need to live so close to everyone that I hear every leaf blower, dog barking, car door, and backyard conversation before breakfast. Fallston gives you breathing room. Move-up buyers often understand the appeal right away. They may be coming from like a tighter neighborhood and want more privacy, more yard, and a home that feels like a long-term move. Relocation buyers, they like the idea of Harford County without choosing the busiest pocket. Some downsizers might consider Fallston too, especially if they want calmer surroundings but are trying not to move into a tiny, low-maintenance place like a condo. The main thing to remember is that space has responsibilities. A larger lot sounds wonderful until the yard starts making more demands. I got all this grass I have to cut back here. More privacy can come with more upkeep. A quieter setting may feel peaceful to one buyer and too slow for another. This is why Fallston should be chosen on purpose. Do not buy a fantasy of the land. Understand the maintenance, the commute, and the distance to errands, the age of the homes, and how the property fits your actual week. For the right person, those trade-offs are worth it. Fallston gives you like room to breathe without making you feel cut off like from everything. You can have a quieter lifestyle and still reach the services you need. Walmart is 4 miles that way. This is why I would put this at the top. It's not the flashiest place in Maryland. You're not choosing it for nonstop nightlife or waterfront restaurants outside. Fallston makes sense. When you want peace, you want space, and a little distance from the noise while you're still being connected to everyday life, this fits that way. I would want to live here even if I were making a move today. So a little more room, a calmer pace, enough convenience nearby, and it's far enough away that someone else's Saturday morning yard work does not become like my alarm clock. Sounds pretty good to me. So to wrap it up, those are the 5 places I would seriously consider if I were moving to Maryland in 2026. You got Havre, you got White Marsh, you got Perry Hall, Bel Air, Annapolis, and Fallston. Each one offers a different version of Maryland living, where Havre brings water, charm, and a slower pace. White Marsh and Perry Hall make daily life easier with access and convenience to everything. Bel Air gives you a strong Harford County community with real town center. Annapolis delivers history, waterfront lifestyle, and one of the most recognizable identities in the state. And Fallston, my home, offers space, privacy, and a calmer setting without feeling completely disconnected. Your list might actually be different, which is exactly why this decision deserves more than just a quick Google search. A relocating buyer may need to focus on the commute and community first. Someone selling a long-time home may care more about timing, maintenance, and the next stage of life. First-time buyers often need to balance affordability with access, and of course, move-up buyers are usually trying to improve your daily life, not just adding square footage. Maryland gives you a lot of options, but the options only help if you know how to compare them. The internet can show you listings, photos, prices, and the occasional kitchen edited so heavily it looks like it belongs in a spaceship. What it cannot always explain is how a place feels once you live there. So if you're thinking about moving to Maryland, relocating within the state, selling your current home, or trying to figure out which community you actually want to live and fit your life, reach out. Call me, send me a text, shoot me an email. I also have free guides available, and if you want a clear starting point before making a move, reach out. I'm John Ruckman with Living in Maryland. Thanks for watching.